words, which it's wonderful that Shane gave us the perspective from the north and touched on the perspective of Hongi Hika, which is half of the conversation, really, that Grant's based the whole book around. The other half, of course, is with the missionaries, and I have some struggle with that, as some of us also have. But the big question, just as the title refers to rangatiratanga, which Hongi Hika certainly knew a lot about, so the other half of the book is about what aroha means. Incredibly important concept then and now. And the missionaries were saying, we are here on the basis of aroha, and our aroha is for the Māori people. I myself think, yeah, right, they're here to convert people and turn them away from heathen practices. But what would I know? Tonight Grant has invited Professor Geoff Troughton, who's a professor of senior lecturer and professor at Victoria University in Religious Studies, to talk about the missionary side of the story. He's an expert, obviously, in the religion and the history of religion in Aotearoa. So tēnā koe, Geoffrey.
Thank you for that welcome. Somewhere between professor and senior lecturer is where I actually reside, but thank you.
I'm obviously not a politician.
It is a true pleasure to be here and to be part of this occasion. I thank you, Grant, for the invitation to come and share a few words. First things first, congratulations. Like any book, it is a struggle. For the writer, for the support crew, for everybody. And giving birth to it is really an occasion for great celebration, and congratulations to you on it. Now, Roger really wanted me to say some rough words to you, but I've got to say that this is actually a great little book. It is a wonderful subject, and Grant works with his material with real care and deftness and insight. It's a delightful book. It's a pleasure to read. I didn't know what I was going to be encountering when I picked it up. But it's also a little book that will stay with you. It will provoke questions. It will challenge your assumptions, your thinking, your imagination, and leave you pondering some of what you just encountered. You should absolutely buy it. That's what we want, right? So, sales pitch sorted. I have to confess one little piece of jealousy that I didn't write it first, that I didn't get to the story first. The subject is a very close analysis of a record of an engagement between Hongi Hika, but a range of other notable rangatira from the north, with missionaries who summoned them to a meeting. And the meeting was to remonstrate with Hongi about his intention to go to war. And so this is an encounter, 1825, that's taking place at the height of what we refer to often as the Musket Wars, before any recorded conversions to Christianity, during a period when the missions had been in absolute shambles, but were just coming out of their internal turmoil. So it's actually quite a famous little interaction, and as Henry Williams put it, an exceedingly interesting one. And it's one that I've encountered on numerous occasions in my own research. I've done a little bit of work on missionary peacemaking and ideas of peace, and hence I haven't written about it yet, but at least I have a solid resource to turn to should I ever do that. Now, Grant's account highlights just how effective and valuable a micro-history approach can be, or what might be called a fossil or artifact history, perhaps, in your terms. And part of the beauty of this book is that it wears a lot of reading and a lot of thinking very lightly, and it deals with the multiple contexts that are working out in this space very effectively indeed. There are actually, Shane, lots of big books on the missions and on this early period. And what this kind of approach does is highlights just what can be absorbed through that focus on a little encounter. It reminds me a lot of the language of middle ground that Richard White and Vincent O'Malley and various other scholars have talked about. This period in which there's a mutual struggling for comprehension across different ways of imagining the world, different ways of thinking and seeing, often mutual incomprehension and often deliberate mutual incomprehension at times, that produces new ways of thinking and new understandings. And I confess that in Grant's account, Māori come out of these exchanges seeming a great deal more adept at reading Pākehā values and perceptions of the world than vice versa. And yet this is not a book about being partial, and it's not a book about expedience or of misunderstanding. It's really a book about the possibilities of encounter. And so it is, as I said, a book that will leave you with lots to ponder. Part of that emerges because of Grant's skill as an expert listener, as somebody involved in change facilitation and a reader of communicative processes, and he brings that professional capacity to bear in trying to listen in on this conversation. But it does raise a bunch of questions, like to what extent was this encounter really a turning point? To what extent can we really access, through these fossilized words on a page, the intent and the emotion and the impact of these encounters? To what extent was there the kind of mutual comprehension that I think, Grant, you want to emphasise? Or was there really continuing miscomprehension? I think you can read the text in multiple ways, that both of these readings are possible. And one of my favourite little interchanges that you highlight, Grant, between missionary and Māori, the missionaries are busy emphasising to the rangatira that the Bible and encounter with the Word is the thing that lends authority to the great people of England. And the missionaries say, those that understand the book best in England are the greatest and most useful men. To which Hongi turns to his countrymen. The gentlemanship of the English is not altogether derived from their forefathers, but from their great learning. I just think that is such a gorgeous little encounter that is so full of possible different readings and miscomprehension, as well as great understanding. So it's a book that will leave you with lots of questions about these sorts of encounters and the meaning of this missionary exchange. It's full of apt expressions. I wished that I'd had your comments about translation to hand when I was talking with my students last week about the challenge of translation in these sort of contexts. But it's also a book that is very much, I think, inspired for and written for this moment. It's a book that is about the capacity to listen, to interact, and to exchange across differences. It's about genuine interactions grounded in goodwill and respect, the capacity to learn from one another, and perhaps even to change our minds in the process. And so for all of that, and for a delightful little book, congratulations and thanks so much. May it fare well.